Want to go watch a Gruffalo? Go have a look in the cupboard and see if you can get yourself something yummy out of the cupboard. Hands going. Woo! It's new. Oh, careful! Oh my goodness! Say hi to the camera. Yeah. Say hi. Can you say hi? Hi. Hi guys. So today I thought that I would do a Throwback Thursday. And I think that I'm going to do Throwback Thursdays every week if I can. I think it's a good way for you guys to get to know us and to share our stories with you guys. And I thought to begin with, I'd start with kind of from the beginning with us and make our way through till now, and then we can figure out some funny stories or something to tell you guys after that. I'll even try and get John on it. One day he can make you guys some stories from his past. I'm not sure. Bentley's running around in the background. He is refusing to go to sleep. So if you see him coming and going, just ignore him. So I thought that for our first Throwback Thursday, I would start kind of from the beginning of us, kind of our family life sort of thing. I don't think I need to go too far back to when I was a baby or anything, but that I would start from when I got pregnant with Jaden. So yeah, for those that don't know, if you haven't picked it up already, my husband is not Jaden's biological father. I got pregnant young and had him 3 years before I met Jono. So I was 17 and I left school when I was 16. Then I moved down to my brother's in the Waikato, and that was all fine. I moved back at the end of 2007 when I was 17. It was summer, Christmas was coming back and everything, and I met someone. I'm not gonna use his name, but I met someone and things happened. We were in a relationship, but it wasn't, looking back, it wasn't a relationship at all. But you know, I was 17 and he was a little bit older, and I thought I liked him. No, I'm sorry if you see this, but you know, it was what it was. So Christmas Day, I went down to Whangarei to pick him up. He lived in Whangarei, I lived in Kerikeri, and on the way down there I started getting quite car sick, and I've never been car sick. Well, I don't get car sick, you know. And on the way back I started feeling really yucky, and we're having Christmas with family, like we were at my auntie's place, and we turned up and I said to Mum, we're going to go home. I just don't feel very well. I feel car sick and yucky. And she didn't say anything then, but she said that in her mind, because she got the same sort of thing, she was pregnant with me, and she said that in her head she was just like, oh my goodness, she's pregnant. so on New Year's Eve, I started feeling a little bit unwell. I was having kind of tummy pains, and Mum and Dad had gone down south to do something. If you can hear that voice in the background, it's Jaden's Furby. I don't know how to turn it off, and it's going off in the background. So yeah, I wasn't feeling very well, and my mum and dad had gone down away for a couple of days, I think they had. And I rang Mum and said, I don't feel very well, I'm going to go to the doctor. And again, she said in her mind she knew what was coming, but like she didn't say it to me. And so I went to the doctor. I was 17. I went to the doctor, and the doctor was kind of talking to me, and I kind of told him what was going on, and I think he asked me kind of, was I up to stuff and all that kind of thing. So he said, well, do a pregnancy test. And I was like, oh crap. You know, I think it was then in my mind, I was like, oh, that could be it. So he did a pregnancy test, and he came in, and I kind of just vividly remember him saying, you're pregnant. And I suppose that most 17-year-olds, I was 2 weeks off, well, by this point I was 3 days off 18, and I suppose a lot of people my age, when you're not in anything stable and that kind of thing, they kind of freak out, they kind of get upset, They think their life's over. They don't want that right now kind of thing. But all I could think in my head was like, I am so excited. I didn't cry. I didn't go. Nothing. It was fine. I was like, oh my goodness, I am pregnant. I'd always wanted to be a mum. I always had it in my head that I was going to have children. Loads of them. And I didn't even think about the father right at that point. Everything was out of my mind. I was just like, oh my goodness, I've got a baby in me and all that kind of thing. So that was fine. I went out to the car. I rang the father to tell him, and he wasn't as happy as me and broke up with me on the phone. Because it had only been a month, and please don't judge me on that, it had only been a month. I was young and dumb, but because it had only been a month, you know, I think it wasn't a major that he had done that. It's not like I wasn't heartbroken or anything. And I think also because of that, I wasn't upset about it because I had this baby in my tummy and it's all I could think about. It's all that was in my head. So Bubby's dad did that, and I just thought, you know what, we will deal with that. I never once had it in my head. That this is going to be hard or anything. I was like, you know what, we'll just take it one day at a time. We'll deal with that later. And so that was fine. That happened, and I just couldn't care less about that. I had this baby in my tummy. I do remember, however, I went around to my sister-in-law's house, and she kind of said to me, what's up? And I burst into tears. And I don't know why suddenly I burst into tears, because I wasn't feeling upset about it. I think it just hit me kind of telling someone face to face. And if I do remember correctly, I think she did ask about what Mum and Dad thought, and I think that's what kind of triggered it, because I hadn't told them yet. And yeah, so the next thing I had to do was tell my parents. We kind of, oh my goodness, yeah, don't touch. So we kind of had this running joke that I always said to my mum, if I get pregnant, he's freaking out because the DVDs are here and not on his shelf. I always had this running joke that if I got pregnant, I'm just going to pack up and run away. So I text my mum, and they were driving up a mountain range called the Brynderwyns, which is kind of just a windy road through a gorge. And I text mum and said, I've been to the doctor, and she texted back and she said, okay, and I said to her, I'm pregnant, I'm running away. No, I don't even think I said I'm pregnant, I just said I'm running away. And she said, I'll talk to you when I get home. And I texted back, I said, have you told Dad? And she said, your father is driving up a mountain, like up the Brynderwyns. I'm not telling him. I am one of 8 kids, and that's a whole nother story for another day. But I'm one of 8 kids, and my dad's other children are a bit older, and they had kids kind of semi-young as well. So I wasn't the first one to do this, but I was still in my mind, like, my dad is a lovely guy. My mum and dad were the best parents, and it wasn't so much fear, it was just that initial, what were they going to say, or that initial kind of shock from them, kind of what's going to come out of their mouth. So I packed my bags. I remember going to the living room. My sisters were both there at the time. They were a bit younger. I think Smith might have been 11 or 12, and my other sister must have been about 13. Bentley. And I remember saying to them, guess what? And kind of playing this game, and in the end one of them said, I know what you're going to say, but I don't want to say it. And I was like, what? And she's like, I don't want to know. And I was like, what? And she goes, you're pregnant. And they were happy for me. They were young. They liked babies. You know, it was this kind of thing. So I packed up my stuff and I left, and yeah, I went to stay with a friend that night. Apparently when my mum and dad got home, my mum still hadn't told my dad, and you want to hop out? And so Dad told my mum, don't touch. So apparently they were sitting in the kitchen that night, and my mum still hadn't told my dad, and Dad was doing something and asked where I was, like if I was coming home that night, and Mum said, oh no, she's gone to a friend's. And Dad said, oh yeah, they were kind of talking, and somehow it came out that Dad said, oh, she's pregnant, isn't she? You just guessed it. I got a text later that night, and he said, it's okay, bub, love you, come home. And I just texted and said, I'll see you. Kind of texted and said, I'll see you tomorrow. So, that was fine. I came home the next day. I kind of think I was texting people, kind of telling my friends and that. And so the next day I came home and I went in and I talked to Mum, and Mum kind of did the whole, Mum kind of did the whole, you know how not to get pregnant, don't you? I was like, yeah, I know, but her and my dad both knew that it had happened, and giving me a lecture or anything like that wasn't going to change anything. They knew that I wasn't that I wanted the baby. That never ever came up from them. They never told me my options, so to speak. They just knew that this was it. So my dad was up our farm doing stuff, and so I walked up and I just sat there watching him go round and round on the tractor or something he was on. Finally he kind of stopped and came over and he said, it's alright, how exciting. So from then on I just had all the support in the world. I was working, and I think I stopped working at 28 weeks for a few different reasons. I had the best pregnancy. I think I had 1 or 2 days where we kind of had something scary happen. I had to go down to the hospital or something like that. But I had the best pregnancy, put on a ton of weight. Found out it was a little boy. My dad came to that scan. My mum came to the first 2 scans, the dating scan and the 12-week scan. Baby was healthy. My dad came to the scan with me when I found out it was a boy, and he was so happy. And I remember him texting my mum saying, you're going to have a grandson. During my pregnancy, I think I saw the baby's dad once or twice. He wasn't interested. He wasn't really interested, I don't think. And yeah, then during my pregnancy, I think I was about 23, 24 weeks, I met somebody that I dated. And I suppose a lot of people would say it's a bit of a weird situation, and I was still, I was pregnant and everything like that, but I was still a bit young and silly, really I shouldn't have introduced another person into my life when I was carrying a baby and that kind of thing. So that was a bit silly, but I mean, that person I was with for a year, he was there kind of after Bubby was born, and then that relationship just fell apart, it just didn't work. But I mean, his family was supportive, and that's fine, but that's a story for another day. And yeah, my pregnancy was fine. We named him originally, his name was Jason, but I changed that for many reasons. But the reason I liked Jason was the movie Riding in Cars with Boys, where she was a single mum and the father, well, I had a father, but he was a drunk alcoholic and all that kind of thing, and the little boy was called Jason, and I just loved that name. But like I said, we changed that name for a few different reasons, and it became Jaden. So he was born 10 days late. I ended up getting induced. I went into hospital to get induced, and he didn't want to come for 3 days. My body was just not ready to have him, and on the 4th day they managed to break my waters. I think I was in labour from like 9 in the morning till he was born at 2 minutes past 5 on the 12th of September 2008. And he was my baby, and he was beautiful, and we just, yeah, it was just him and me. The father found out that he'd been born, and after I had Jaden, he came to visit Jaden, and he kind of, I suppose it's a story for another day, but just to cut a long story short, I mean, he was in and out of Jaden's life. But yeah, I loved him. I doted on Jaden. We lived with my parents until, how far into the story should I go? I think I'll stop kind of around here, but we lived with my parents for a year. We're just under a year. They were like such a great help. My friends loved him. The family was so supportive. I was very, very lucky that I just had such a supportive network around me, and me and Jaden were very well looked after. And he was a very spoiled little baby. He was my mum's first grandchild, and my dad had a few, but I loved him. getting pregnant at 17 was not a bad thing to me. I don't feel like I missed out on anything. I guess other than having children, I never had really set my goals, my mind goals, or anything like that. So, yeah, I never really regretted it. I never wished I hadn't done it. Nothing like that. I loved being pregnant. I love my Jaden. Me and Jaden kind of have a different sort of bond than me and Bentley. I mean, obviously they're both my sons and I love them so much, but I think me and Jaden, because it was just us and he didn't, you know, I just feel so connected, and he was just my baby boy and I just love them so much. So that is my Throwback Thursday to kind of finding out I'm pregnant at 17, well, 3 days off 18, you know. Speaking about 18, obviously I wasn't able to go out, and then I got pregnant on my 18th. And I didn't get to go out for a year. Because I had Jaden halfway through my 18th year, I was pregnant and then had him. I didn't go out till after Jaden's first birthday. So it kind of hindered experiencing that, but I don't remember actually really caring. Anyway, guys, that is my Throwback Thursday. That is my story for today. I'm not sure what I'll do next Thursday, like how forward I'm going to go. If I'm going to kind of jump way forward to Jono, or if I kind of find a story in between to tell you guys. I'm not sure yet, but thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more Throwback Thursdays and other kind of videos from us, and I will see you, if you come back, in my next video. Bye. I thought I would show you guys some photos quickly of kind of Jaden as a baby and that kind of thing, because I was going to insert pictures kind of along the way of my pregnancy and all that kind of thing, and then I started thinking, I don't think I've got any on the computer, because back then I don't think I really had Facebook, and I didn't really put photos on the computer and all that kind of thing. They're all taken and printed out. So I'll just show you some. I hope you guys can see them properly just through the lens. But this is this is me pregnant. Mind all the stretch marks, and you know, I'm real, I'm not fake. But that's me pregnant with my Jaden. I hope you guys can see that. I'm waiting to get induced. I'll just show you guys a quick few videos. I mean, I'm not going to show you guys the whole album. I guess I'll show you this whole page. When I was in the hospital, it was so dry, and people had warned me to take chapstick, and I was like, why do I need chapstick? Look at my lips. They were just so dry. But that's kind of my little boy when he was first born, meeting my mum and dad. I hope you guys can see this. And yeah, I guess I don't need to show you guys heaps of photos, but they're kind of just a few photos. I was 18 and he was, I didn't say how old he was, but that's one of, you know, the first few weeks. He was a gorgeous little boy. He was like my gorgeous little Jaden. Okay guys, bye.